Over the previous 150 years, before around the 1970s, Americans had enjoyed a rising standard of living because they were paid higher wages. Corporations were doing very well. There weren't enough workers around, so to get workers to come, often from other countries, and to get workers to stay in jobs, you had to pay them more every year, even if it was a little, but it grew. And people could afford a rising standard of living out of their wages. In the 1970s, that stopped. American corporations moved their jobs abroad. American corporations substituted computers for people. Women looking for an equal position with men started working in jobs much more than they had before. And for all these reasons, employers didn't have to pay rising wages anymore, and they took advantage of that situation and stopped. The real wage, that is the money you earn per hour of work, today in the United States is about what it was in the middle of the 1970s. Wages stopped going up. But meanwhile, the hopes of the American people to enjoy the American dream, to give their kids a college education, to live in a decent way, to be able to take a vacation, all those things kept going. And the costs of them kept rising. Not only that, producers in America, corporations, pumped up the advertising, telling everybody how they ought to live, what a good standard of living, what a successful American life meant. Moreover, there was no discussion in America about what it meant and whether it was legitimate for corporations to take advantage of the labor market and not raise wages the way they had. Even though the workers were becoming more productive, they didn't get any more. We had no public discussion about it. We had no policy about it. So every American family handled it individually. And one of the things American families did was to borrow money, to keep up with the American dream, to provide for their kids, the promises they had made. They borrowed money. And they borrowed in a way they had never done before. And for the last 25 years, that's how the American economy was sustained, by borrowed money used by people who no longer had rising wages to pay for it. Now the American people are tapped out. Their wages haven't gone up, and they can't borrow anymore because they can't sustain the debts they already have.
What the employer has been giving you for the last 50 years has gone nowhere. But what you give to the employer has zoomed up by a third. That's why there's a gap between rich and poor in the United States. Working people, their incomes have gone nowhere. But the employer class, a small minority in this country, has made out like the bandits that capitalism makes them be.